Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money, with your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 195 of Screw the Commute podcast. We have Noble Gibbens here. He was a military officer, and he is an entrepreneur evangelist, and he started a movement about it. I'll introduce him to you in a minute. And I hope you didn't miss last episode, 194. We had NASCAR driver Jesse Iwuji here. I mean, what a guy. He's the only guy who is active duty in the military and a NASCAR driver. I bet you never heard that before, and he was a cool guy, and you got to hear what he was doing in the car on the straightaways at 180 miles an hour. Okay, if you missed that episode, that was 194. All right, I hope you downloaded our podcast app. If you didn't, go to screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP, and it has instructions on how to download it and use all the fancy functions so that you can take us with you on the road on your tablet or your cell phone. And let's say you were on listening to a podcast and you got a call. Well, it'll pause the podcast, you do your call, and it starts right back up where you left off on the podcast. So it does all kinds of stuff, and you can save your favorite episodes too. All right, as a thank you for listening, you can grab a copy of our ebook, How to Automate Your Business. And just one of the tips in this book has saved me over 7.5 million keystrokes and allowed me to handle up to 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers without pulling my hair out. So, and we sell this book for $27, but it's yours free as my thanks for listening. And plus, we've got another surprise white paper for you. When you're on the download page to get your ebook, you can grab this other white paper that people, I'm going to let you be surprised on what it is, but people are charging $4,000, $5,000, and $6,000 for the information in this document. And it's yours free for listening. And you'll find both of those at screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. Of course, everything we do, including all Noble's great stuff, is going to be in the show notes. This is episode 195. So you go to screwthecommute.com/195 and it'll take you directly to his episode. All right, our sponsor is the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. It's a distance learning school which teaches legitimate techniques to make a great living, either working for someone else or starting your own online business. And we just got approved by the Department of Defense for a military spouse program. You know, I live in the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, and military spouses have to take crappy jobs because everybody knows they're going to be leaving in a couple years. And then they have to take another crappy job at the next place. Well, if they have internet marketing skills, they can be portable. In fact, I had a military spouse intern, and she's in South Korea and still does work for me. So people don't care where you live if you have these kinds of skills. And we also give a $9,500 scholarship to active duty, veterans, military spouses, law enforcement, and first responders, just as a thank you from me and the school personally, in addition to the DoD scholarship. So check all that out at imtcva.org. And if you're interested in the military, hit /military, and it'll give you all the details of that stuff. All right, let's get to the main event. Noble Gibbens graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point and was an infantry officer in the 82nd Airborne Division. He's been a part of close to 10 business startups, and he likes to call himself an entrepreneur evangelist. Perfect for this show. He founded the 360 movement a year and a half ago to add value to hungry leaders and influencers in every area of life. His crowning achievement, of course, though, is his family. He's been married to his awesome wife, Kathy, for over 22 years. And they're very active in the homeschooling community. And they have an 11-year-old daughter that they homeschooled with classical conversations. So, Noble, are you ready to screw the commute?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right. Well, great meeting you. We met through, I believe, a great patriot, Stephen Kuhn, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and he was very excited to tell me, you got to get Noble on the podcast. Just his name alone is better than most of the people I have on. so, so tell everybody what you're doing now, and then we'll take you back and see how you came up through the ranks.
So first of all, I just want to thank you for having me on the show. Totally appreciate that. And I also want to thank Stephen Kuhn for recommending me. He's an incredible leader, influencer in the military community, in the business community. I really appreciate that. So what I'm up to now, I am very active in a couple spaces. One in the homeschool community, and also in I started about 18 months ago a personal growth tribe for people that are committed to growing themselves in every area of their lives, and it's called the 360 Movement Personal Growth Tribe on Facebook.
And what's the actual address to it? Is that what it is?
It's facebook.com/the 360 movement.
The 360 Movement. And of course, we'll have that in the show notes. So are the requirements? Is this a paid thing? How does it work?
Great question, sir. So no, it's not a paid thing. There are just a few questions to answer when you request access to join the tribe, and really it's people that are serious about growing themselves personally and professionally in every area. One of the things that I noticed in my military career and business career, I noticed there are a number of people that were financially successful but not family successful, people that were professionally successful but not personally successful, and vice versa, people that were family successful but not financially successful. And for me, my faith background, I'm a Christian, and I'm like, well, man, if I believe that God created this big ball of mud that we're all on, why can't I be successful in every area of my life, not just one area? I want to set a good example in every area. And we've got a little girl who just turned 12. I want to set an example, a positive example in every area of my life for my daughter, not just one area. So I wanted to create a tribe, a community of people that were serious about growing themselves in every area.
So so when somebody joins, then what happens? Is there training in there, or just camaraderie, or what?
So there are a number of, we've got videos, we've got interviews that I do with folks. I love discovering people. There's a lot of articles, business articles, articles on different topics. There's a number of different hashtags that we've hashtag for on emotional intelligence, on leadership, on relationships, on mentorship, on personal growth, finances, a number of different areas, those big rocks in life, to help people really get traction. And so it's just a community of folks that share. There's a verse, it's Proverbs 27:17, is iron sharpens iron. So one man, one woman, one person sharpens another.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just a big believer in that you are who you associate with. It's a cheesy quote. I'm a cheesy quotes guy, but I feel like if you associate with people at or above your level, you'll rise to that level. And so I want to create a tribe of people that are aggressively growing themselves in every area of life.
Okay, and that sounds great, but are you monetizing this, or how do you actually make a living?
So no, I have not monetized this. I also do, as part of this 360 movement, every couple months I do webinars, and right now they're free. They're free webinars. I've just really wanted to add value. I got my start. Well, I think you're going to ask about how I got my start later, but so I do every couple months webinars on important areas. I just did one. I had the chief growth officer of the Flow Research Collective give a talk, a keynote on the concept of flow, or being in the zone,
Mm-hmm.
and some practical tips on how to do that. The one before that was on emotional intelligence. We've got one coming up on building your story brand. So it's in my network. God's blessed me with a really good network. I love people. People's my passion. And so I love sharing their story, sharing their message, sharing their wisdom with my tribe and my audience. But at this point, no, I have not monetized it.
So how do you make a living now?
Yep. So a couple different ways. So I got my start, early on, actually, when I was still in the military in the 82nd Airborne Division, in network marketing. So I got my start in network marketing and really kind of cut my teeth in business, learned a lot of great principles and stuff like that about business, and also just learned that I love business. And so since then, I have started a number of different, or been a part of a number of different startups, from medical imaging centers, to medical imaging centers, health and fitness center, executive coaching. I had a venture leadership business I did with a couple other folks. Worked with another one of my uh, uh, startup projects was with some special operations guys in the military, and then also I'm very active in the homeschool community. So I also help out an organization with I do a lot on social media, a lot with training a lot of their leaders with social media, and different aspects of being effective in the homeschool world, but also promoting the homeschool world and stuff as well.
So when you say you were involved in a startup, tell us what you mean by that. Were you an angel investor? Were you active in the businesses, or what?
Yes, sir. Great question. So how is the let's see. So there's been a number of them that I have been a part of. So close to 10 of them. So I'll just start with the medical imaging centers. Well, actually, no. Let me start with the very first one. Was an outdoor fitness center kind of thing. It was in a little. My buddy was a real estate investor, so he bought the property, and then I was going to be the sweat equity guy, and I was going to put it together and run it, manage it, that kind of thing. And so I had literally just left the military. I was an infantry officer, and so used to jump out of airplanes and airborne ranger, do all that fun stuff. And then he said, "Okay, Noble, what do you think?" Because I when I met this guy, one of my buddies did a mutual introduction, introduced me to him, and my first words out of my mouth, "Hey, it's nice to meet you. What is the biggest thing that you need assistance or help with right now?" He said, "Well, I need someone to run start a business for me." And so I said, "Okay, what kind of business?" He said, "Well, I need it to be a fitness center. I want you to start a fitness center. I'd like you to start a fitness center and an outdoor. So it's got a big giant outdoor swimming pool. It's got a building there. I've just bought 2 acres, and I need someone to make put it together for me." And so I don't know what I was actually smoking at the time, but it must have been really good, because I said, "Absolutely, I'm your guy. I'll make it happen." And in true entrepreneurial fashion, I know nothing about business at this time. I only know how to jump out of airplanes and shoot stuff and blow stuff up. And then I said, "So when does this thing need to be done?" He said, "Well, you've got 90 days." so, so from that day forward, man, I would say my wife and I, because she helped me with it too, we probably spent 14 to 18-hour days, 7 days a week for 90 days to get this thing off
Yeah,
the
so I
ground.
wouldn't call that an angel investor exactly, no.
Right. No, sir.
So then what? So you turned it over to somebody else to run it then?
No, no, no. So,
Oh,
so also in true entrepreneurial fashion. So we get it. So boom, we hit the beginning of summer, and this was in North Carolina. And so we get up and running. We brought in palm trees, like it was awesome, right? It was in this little rural neighborhood, which was also part of the problem. But anyway, we started to sell memberships and that kind of thing. Well, here's what we didn't forecast. So it was an outdoor swimming pool in North Carolina. There are only 60 days of summer. There's only 2 months of summer,
right.
and so it ended up raining 50 out of the 60 days of summer. And when the majority of your business model involves an outdoor swimming pool, it didn't go well. So we didn't sell a whole lot of memberships. And so that business literally went down the drain, literally. And so then boom, we moved into our next business venture. We started a mobile medical imaging center, and I served in the same capacity. My real estate buddy did all the real estate stuff, put all the deal together. One of our other buddies is a radiologist, and so he of course did all the reading, the medical side, and then I kind of helped put the whole thing, that put the other all this other stuff together, the hiring, that kind of thing. And we had another guy who was a tech, one of the medical imaging techs, who also was part of it as well. But and that was all we did. Was we got a tractor trailer, a semi tractor
Mhm.
trailer, and we pimped it out with. We had an ultrasound machine in there. We had an X-ray machine in there. Had a couple different modalities, and the plan was to park it, 2 days a week at this medical clinic 2 days a week, at this urgent care 2 days a week, kind of rotated
Right.
around, and that failed miserably. And so then we we parlayed it into a fixed site medical imaging center, and fortunately, and that was in a little strip mall with some other businesses and stuff, in a in a lower income part of our town that we were in, a little small mom and pop imaging center, and that ended up going very well. We had that for probably about 12 years, and I was the office manager. I was the sales guy, so I went and drummed up all the business. I went to all the different medical clinics and talked to their medical staff, their physicians, and told them about our imaging center and stuff. And so,
but you were
that
still
lasted-
parked? You were still in the trailer, parked out in the lot, or you
No,
got?
so that was our fixed site. So
You got a fixed site.
Yeah, the trailer we had to get rid of. We sold that, but then we got the fixed site, physical building that we were operating out of, and that one ended up, and we sold that. We were able to sell that after 12 years, right as the medical reimbursement rates dropped, and the bigger healthcare companies were coming in and purchasing, purchasing up all the smaller companies and stuff. So we were able to sell it, and and live to fight another day.
So, but you're learning, you're teaching yourself all the time through this whole thing.
It was 100%. Again, in for many entrepreneurs, right? It was you jump and then you build your parachute.
Right. Right.
That's exactly what it was, sir. Each time, because both my real estate buddy, business partner, and my radiologist buddy, they had full-time jobs, so it's not like I could sit and ask them, okay, well, how does this work, or how does that work? It was literally, hey, this is what has to happen. Here's the outcome. Here's the objective. Go and make it happen.
Figure it out. All right, let's take you back. Were you an entrepreneurial kid?
No, sir. I was not an entrepreneurial kid. My dad was an emergency room physician for 30 some years. My mom taught Spanish at Oklahoma University, and I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my family. And so it wasn't until I did sports. I was an athlete in sports, basketball, football, and stuff. And then I went to West Point. And typically you don't join the military to make your own decisions. And so, a lot of, it was funny. I've read a book called Bleeding Talent. And one of the things he talks about is the military is amazing at attracting entrepreneurial talent, but terrible at keeping it. Mm-hmm. And so one of the dynamics is, once I met this other successful West Point guy, he had real estate investments. He had real estate, he had investments, he had business, and he had a great marriage. He was just a wonderful guy. And I'm like, man, is there any chance you'd be willing to coach and mentor me in all those different areas, real estate, investments, business? And so he was open. I had to kind of go through a little bit of a selection process, but and that was actually the start of my network marketing journey into business. That's what kind of cut my teeth on it. But it was actually meeting somebody. And the other interesting thing, I guess, the one thing that did kind of help me out of my entrepreneur journey for me as a kid, I've always been passionate about learning. My dad mm-hmm. would come home after his 12-hour, 24-hour, 48-hour ER shifts and study 1 to 2 hours a night of medical stuff and in the Bible. And that's right after he came back from work. And I'm like, man, this guy is a learning machine. And so it just developed in me an appetite to learn. And he would ask me questions like, hey, Noble, what do you think about the meaning of life? Or what do you think about, these different things? And it's like, it just gave me an intellectual curiosity that just kept with me. And as you know, sir, intellectual curiosity is, in my opinion, very critical in becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to dig stuff out. Like I said, without any formal training, you made that imaging center happen. You got punched in the face with the swimming pool deal, and that's it's typical. You just keep getting punched in the face until you learn how to duck. Yes,
or pick yourself up back off the floor.
Yeah, get back up after a little groggy, but that's all right. So what keeps you motivated?
Well, sir, something else too, just talking about the whole, because I love entrepreneurship and I love entrepreneurs. And that's actually one of the reasons why we chose to homeschool, right? Because what's fascinating, and I didn't know about any of this stuff. I'm a public school guy and I've got a lot of public school teachers and friends and that kind of thing. But the bottom line is, I don't know, I'm making this percentage up, but in the majority of schools in America, they don't teach entrepreneurship to children. And
Right.
so now, after being an entrepreneur for 20 years, being a part of almost 10 different startups and that kind of thing, I'm like, man, I want my kid, we want our kid to learn how to become an entrepreneur. And there's no schools that do that. So, well, we're going to do it. So we decided to homeschool our kid. And what's fascinating is, now being in the homeschool world for about 7 years now, I would say, now I've never done research on this or studied this, but just in my little observation, it seems like, I would almost argue 50 to 60% of homeschool families are some version of an entrepreneur, whether it's a little
Mm-hmm.
small home-based business or little crafts, up to, I've met some homeschooling families that are multi-millionaires running huge companies. And it's been a really neat journey. And it totally makes sense now, being a homeschool guy too, is homeschoolers almost by definition are anti-establishment, not anti-establishment, it
Right.
sounds bad, but they observe the masses and do the opposite.
Yeah.
I want to create my own path, chart my own course and stuff, and that's, again, totally entrepreneurial mindset. So it's a very similar fit. So what keeps me motivated is, now being in this world, I love telling people about, we homeschool with classical conversations, and telling people, regardless of how if you value entrepreneurship, if you want to potentially promote entrepreneurship to your children, in my opinion, homeschooling is one of the best ways to do that. In fact, as part of our homeschool curriculum, one of the things that I love doing is taking my daughter with me to go interview successful people like yourself. And we sit there together, my daughter and I, and we'll ask you the successful entrepreneur questions. And man, I love to be able to do that for her, as part of her homeschool journey.
That's absolutely great. And, for years and years and years, I have said that I never met a homeschool kid that wasn't like the best kid I ever met. All right. It's like, they're
Yes,
all good.
sir.
But let me tell you an experience I had and see if you have any ideas.
Yes, sir.
So I thought, this is great. So I put a Facebook ad in giving away a $19,000 scholarship to my internet marketing school. For the home, and it was only geared towards homeschool people in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. 1,000 people visited the scholarship page, and not one person applied.
Wow.
That just floored me. I couldn't believe it. And people said, they're kind of a closed community, and that, you're an outsider, and people try to sell them all kinds of junk all the time. So they probably didn't trust you enough. But 1,000 people saw the page, and not one application. If one person would have applied, they'd have won. So I'm talking to some other people. I don't know. Do you know Rochelle Futch?
No, sir.
All right. Well, she was also introduced to me by Stephen Kuhn. She's military spouse of the year at Fort Bragg, and she's also a big advocate of homeschooling. So we're going to put together a package, and she's going to kind of Sherpa me into the community, because yes, this is perfect. I mean, for homeschool kids, because why would they want to go through all that trouble? And I'm preaching to the choir here, of teaching your kid all this great stuff and keeping them away from the bad influences, and then send them to a college that's going to teach them how to protest and put them in debt for the rest of their life.
Right.
So this is, I mean, we had one girl, she started a month after she started making $1,100 a month on the side, running social media for several small businesses. And
Wow.
after 2 months, she was making $3,000 a month, and is preparing to quit her job, which was a menial job that her dad had spent $80,000 on her college education, and all she could get was this crappy job.
Wow.
So internet marketing stuff, and is portable. It's great for the military spouses and military families, but it's just perfect for homeschoolers, because they after doing what you're doing to take care of your little girl, it just doesn't make sense to throw her to the wolves to me in a college setting. But I mean, if you're going to be a doctor or accountant or something, you got to go through the process. But they can be literally making money and debt free in no time, and so that's what I'm trying to push.
No, that's excellent, sir. And thank you for doing that, because I mean that's excellent. That is absolutely the kind of thing that is attractive. I mean, that's to have an opportunity that allows you to customize your life and create the schedule. I mean, that's another one of the benefits of homeschooling
Yeah.
is we set our schedule. We have an entrepreneur life, and our homeschooling reflects that. And that's the beautiful thing is we can still, right, because it's not necessarily quantity of time, it's quality of time when you think about it, how much time did I actually learn when I was sitting in class for 8 hours a day with 30 other students? And oftentimes I was the weak link in the classroom. So, and so, now the teacher to student ratio in my family, we just have our one kid is literally 2 to 1. That's
Exactly.
You can't beat that ratio.
All right. So what kind of, with all the business experience and the 10 startups and fighting it out, like I said, you've got way more experience than an investor would, really, because you had to fight it out and figure out how to make things work. So what kind of advice would you have for people either wanting to start a business or improve the one they have?
That's an excellent question, sir. So I would say for me, and it was funny how you went to that analogy before I said anything. It's entrepreneurs so much think alike about fighting. I make the parallel between being an entrepreneur and being a UFC fighter or a mixed martial arts fighter, because as a professional fighter, they're not shocked or surprised when they get punched in the face.
Right.
They know that's kind of par for the course. That's part of their experience. Even the greatest fighters in the world, Muhammad Ali or whoever the greatest fighters are out there, they even get punched in the face multiple times per round, let alone throughout the course of an entire fight. Well, I make that same argument and case for entrepreneurs. Like, listen, as an entrepreneur, your emotional toughness has got to be as big or greater than even your skill set, I would almost argue, because I've met a lot of very skilled, very talented people that don't have the emotional fitness, the emotional endurance, the emotional stamina to endure the different punches and kicks, so to speak, that they're going to get in their entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, just another example of our homeschooling, I ask my daughter almost daily, Elena, how did you fail today? And if she can't give me an answer, we're going to go and fail at something immediately. Because and we celebrate it. I celebrate failure.
Absolutely.
I'm like, man, Elena, that is awesome. I'm so proud of you for taking it to the chin, man. You failed 5 times. So I said, man, keep it up. And so for me, that's one of the biggest differences, in my opinion, between an employee life and an entrepreneur life is how they view failure. In academic world, from American education, I was taught that an F is bad, right? As soon as you get an F, you're grounded, bring your grades up, all this stuff. Well, in the entrepreneurial world, Fs are my professor. In my house, we call it professor failure. How did you learn from what you fail at today? What did you learn from that experience? How can you improve on that experience? So I want to reframe and rewire my daughter's brain that failure is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Wow, that's amazing because, on this podcast, I admit that I've been ragging a little bit on parents and the young generation coming up who they do everything for them. They can't stand any pressure. And one failure, I mean, I give the example, I have this crazy tennis, I'm a tennis nut. And so I was doing a pickup game with this 14-year-old that was on the tennis team. And I'm running him off the court pretty much. And he's getting mad, throwing his racket down, and finally just walks off the court. And his mother is chasing him. It's okay, Joey. It's okay. If I'd have done that when I was a kid, I'd be running laps till I was 40 years old.
Right. That's right.
So it worries me. But boy, your daughter is going to be way ahead of the game because that's the whole thing, And I don't know. You remember that Mike Tyson saying, everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's what you do afterwards that tells what you're made of. So we got to take a brief sponsor break, and when we come back, we're going to ask Noble, what's a typical day look like for him. All right. So, folks, I'm down on my hands and knees begging you to check out a particular webinar or pass it on to someone who could use it. I mean, it has to do with higher education. If you're considering getting retrained because you hate what you're doing or you want a better life for yourself or your family, or maybe you have kids or nephews or nieces or even neighbors who are wondering if they should burn up hundreds of thousands of dollars and then end up broke and with mountains of debt and no marketable skills, well, you just got to watch this webinar. I mean, you got nothing to lose. It's take you about 90 minutes and everything to gain from taking a little time out and watching this webinar. And this isn't just me hawking my school. Of course, I'm interested and want you to enroll in my school, but these are high-level education people talking about how screwed up there's a screw metaphor for our show, right? How screwed up the higher education system is. They just keep raising the tuitions and lowering the quality. In fact, you'll see something that'll really make you mad. They're artificially raising grade point averages. And this is all documented, that they're making students think that they're smarter when they're really not, just to justify the higher fees all the time. This is really terrible. So check that out. It's screwthecommute.com, and then click on webinars. And then if I can help you, give me a call. We'll discuss future of you or your children in the online world. So check all that out in the show notes, screwthecommute.com/webinars. All right, let's get back to the main event. Noble Gibbens is with us. He's was a military officer and a serial entrepreneur evangelist and the leader of the 360 movement on Facebook. So, Noble, what's a typical day look like for you?
Yes, great question, sir. So I wake up maybe around 08, and I start off. First thing I do is I say a prayer, thank God for the day, watch over my family, let me be let me be productive and effective in connecting with people and adding value to people. Then boom, I'll bust out my Bible. I read a passage in the Bible. I call it my spiritual 7.62 millimeter ammo. So
I call it 308, but I mean, who says, who cares?
That's right.
You say tomato, I say tomato.
That's right. That's right. So that, just to, undergird me, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And then I'll as I'm getting ready, I put on some praise and worship music just to get my head straight, get the right headspace. And then, and typically my awesome wife gets up a little bit before me. She goes for a walk and stuff. Excuse me. And then, I'll come downstairs, and then, I like to read. I'm a huge reader. I love reading. I read a ton. And so I'll read a little bit, which also kind of helps to frame my mindset. Right now, I'm on a serious personal emotional growth journey, so I'm reading a lot on emotional intelligence and emotional growth, that kind of thing. And then I get on social media. I do a lot on social media, a lot of connecting in different groups, not only homeschool groups, but the Vetrepreneur tribe, for example, different groups, and I'll consume content and I'll create content. So I'll spend some time during the day doing that, creating connecting with audiences and adding value to audiences, but also creating content as well. And then at that point, somewhere in there, our awesome kid wakes up, and so boom, do breakfast, hang time with our kid, and she'll we read our Bible together, do a little devotion, and then she jumps into her homeschool stuff. She's in 7th grade now and rocks her schoolwork and stuff. And then we and really that's kind of the rest of the day. And then by the time the evening hits, and we're all and the beautiful thing about working from home, I work from home, and homeschooling is we talk about the 1%. So no, I'm not in the 1% financially, but I'm absolutely the 1% of the planet family time. I have more family time than probably just about anybody I know. And I am so thankful to have that opportunity and privilege as an entrepreneur is just such a tremendous blessing. And so then my daughter and I, we do jujitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Nice. So that's how I get my PT and my physical training. Because I've noticed that my recovery time, the older I get, is longer.
Yeah, wait till she starts choking you out.
Right. That's her. That's right. That's right. And so we do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then a lot of times I'll have webinars in the evening, or where I'm trained, going live on Facebook, or putting out some sort of content in the evening, and then we'll hang out after all that. Then we, as a family, we do some more hang time as a family. We'll play, whether it's board games, or read a book together, or sit on the couch and watch a movie or something like that. Um, and then it's, also before I go to bed, I like to review what I've got, what I did that day, and then what I've got, the next day.
That's great. Now, does your girl, is it Alana or Lana?
Elena.
Elena. Elena?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is she doing anything entrepreneurial yet?
So she's had 3 businesses already. She has had one origami business, where one little origami business. Then she had another craft business and that was her first JV, her
Okay.
first little joint venture, a little partnership there with her best friend. They had a little craft business, and then she also did a jujitsu event where she did it for kids. She hosted it at our local gym. We said, hey, here's the platform to build your website. She built the website, everything. And I think that was when she was 10. And so, just already she's 12, and she's already been a part of 3 little business ventures and stuff. And, nothing big or anything like that, but it's just, for me. And the other part about entrepreneurship is reps. Part of it is you just got to get reps. The more intentional failures that you can have in business, the failures have less impact, less negative impact on you, and you can get better at learning. Because I feel like that's a big part about entrepreneurship, is being a more effective learner. Because if you just fail for the sake of failing, but you're not learning, you're not evaluating your experience, evaluating those failures, you're never going to get better as an entrepreneur. So part of it, I feel, is really studying your journey. So anyway, so that's been part of it. It's just, okay, Linda, so how did it go? What's been your experiences? What'd you learn? What's the pros? What's the cons? Just having those conversations with her. And so she's had those 3 businesses.
Well, the reason I ask is because we keep our eye out for special episodes of Screw the Commute for special youth editions. And it seems to me she would be a perfect candidate. And just to tell you, I don't start the episode, hey, Elena, are you ready to screw? I don't do that for the kids. All right. Just so you know. So, yeah, I'd love to interview her. She's the whole story of the failure stuff is perfect and very inspirational. So if it's okay with you and your wife, then we'll book a special youth episode for her.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I'll talk to her. We'll see. She's got a very different personality than me.
Okay. Well, you can be on with her. So anyway, that's on the table.
No, that's great. Thank you, sir.
So thanks so much. Boy, I wish all parents could be like you and your wife, because you're going to be creating great young people coming up. And honest with you, I'm a little bit worried about the rest of them. So thanks so much for coming on, man. And tell them the tribe, or whatever else. What else do you have that they can participate in?
Sure. So let me just share the mission. So let me give you my personal mission statement is to positively impact millions of people for the kingdom of God, to positively influence the influencers, to raise the next generation to be patriotic world changers, to love the Lord their God with all their heart, mind, soul, spirit, strength, and body, and to help hungry people identify and pursue their purpose in life. That's my personal 5-fold mission statement. That's what drives my decision-making process. The 360 movement mission statement is to change the world by changing your world, by changing you in all 360 degrees. And how do we do that? By reaching the world, restoring brokenness, empowering leaders and influencers, affirming gifts, strengths, talents, and superpowers, cultivating deep roots, harvesting long-lasting legacy fruit. So reach the world, REACH. And that is what the 360 movement is all about. So if you're serious about growing yourself, if you're serious about adding value and contributing, because we have a culture of contribution as well, not just taking, but contributing as well, because I believe that God has given la-di-da-di everybody gifts, talents, strengths, and superpowers. And I want to create an environment that helps cultivate those strengths inside people and help come alongside them so that they can bring their gifts and their talents to bear on the world, because I believe that everybody is a solution to somebody else's problems.
That's a very powerful way to end it up. So thanks again, Noble, for coming on. For everybody else, go out there, check the show notes, get over there, join the movement, and go out there and fail, right?
That's right, Tom. Thank you so much for having me, sir. Have a great day.
All right, everybody. We'll catch y'all on the next episode. See you later.